I'm Lee Pacchia with Mimesis Law. Lots of discussion these days over the rise in so-called revenge porn. That's sexually explicit media that is publicly shared online without the consent of the pictured individual. Privacy advocates have called for tough criminal penalties for sharing explicit content without the subject's consent, and several states around the country have passed laws punishing violators with jail time. Joining me now to discuss, we have Scott Greenfield. He's a criminal defense attorney and founder of the spectacular blog, Simple Justice. Welcome. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Lee.
So, you are extremely outspoken on this issue. You've been involved in a couple of Twitter dust-ups with supporters of these new criminal laws. Why are you so opposed to criminalizing this sort of activity?
Well, geez, I don't know that I'd call them dust-ups. I consider them frank and friendly exchanges.
I was going to characterize them as knockdown, drag-out fights. I thought I'd pull it back and go with dust-ups. but seriously, I mean, it's an issue that people get very vocal over. It's an emotional issue, and you are one of the few people in social media that I see ferociously advocating against criminalizing this sort of activity, at least in the way that states have gone about thus far.
Well, that's pretty much the problem. It's an extremely emotional issue. And emotions have carried the argument to a large extent. And what you don't have is people saying, slow down, little reason is best applied to this situation. Take a look at the collateral damage these poorly drafted laws, this ill-conceived idea is going to cause. Look at the First Amendment consequences. Look at the chilling speech. Look at the potential innocent people who are going to be wrapped up in this, in these laws. And before you go running every time somebody screams that there's a terrible tragedy about to happen and pass a law, think first. How is this law going to affect a whole bunch of people that you really don't want wrapped up?
Mm-hmm. Can you talk to us about some of the specific problems that you've seen with legislation up to date? I mean, what could go wrong? How could an innocent person get wrapped up in one of these statutes and go to jail when they shouldn't?
In the original version of the model law that was being spread around the country, there was no exception for people who were distributing images because they were noteworthy or newsworthy or prominent people. For example, there was the Anthony Weiner tweet, sext, and it was pointed out that the woman who revealed that image would have been a felon or a criminal under these laws. Well, they kind of quietly snuck in a noteworthy exception to the law, but that's really not enough. There's a lot of innocent conduct. For example, the way the law is written, images that are would be considered relatively normal. For example, forgive this, but they call it the side boob image. Mm-hmm. Women who are dressed on the red carpet who reveal parts of their breast, these are crimes under these laws, which make it a crime to show any part of a breast below the areola. You know, nobody's saying that revenge porn, the stuff they're talking about where they make this emotional appeal about the trauma and the horror and the maliciousness, nobody's saying that this is not reprehensible conduct. No one is saying that their appeal to emotion is false. What we're saying is don't get swept up in hysteria so that you forget the people who you're not talking about.
Right.
Let's think about all the people who don't deserve to be criminals, don't deserve to be sex offenders, don't deserve to go to jail, don't deserve to be saddled with a criminal conviction for their whole life. Those are the people that somebody has to say, stop, wait, think about that. Do you really want to do that to all these people?
So in your comments, it sounds like you think that the victims of the truly reprehensible conduct that falls under revenge porn have a right to seek legal redress.
I think they have a 100% legitimate cause for outrage and concern. I think they definitely deserve some remedy that will prevent what is happening to them. I don't think they...
Under criminal law?
Well, there's the problem. The criminal law is a very blunt instrument. number one. Number two, it's not wielded by the anti-revenge porn crusaders who have an idea in mind what they want to stop. It's wielded by police, it's wielded by prosecutors, and as history teaches us, it will be wielded in whatever way best serves their needs at any given time. It may not be used as a scalpel, and it's a lot more likely to be used as a bludgeon, especially when you have something which, frankly, seems to be facially violative of the First Amendment, and they can use that to shut down a whole lot of speech through the threats of prosecution that we may not want them to be able to do.
When you look at this issue, I mean, you're obviously paying very close attention to it. What do you expect to happen in the next 12 months? Are we going to see more states passing these laws, more of these cases being brought? How does this play out in your view?
Well, right now, the anti-revenge porn laws are a gimme for state legislators. They desperately want the opportunity to show that they're A, tough on crime, B, sensitive to women, C, anti-sexual abuse and rape, and all of these things are tied up in this package with a bow. You have conservatives, you have liberals. The entire spectrum is all saying, this is great, we should stop these horrific acts. And here you've got a politician who can claim that he's put his name on an act, he's stopped it, he's the hero of every political persuasion around. It won't be until these cases make their way through the courts, and at that point, there will be untold number of people who have either been chilled in their speech or have been somehow affected by low-level prosecution where it's not going to make it to the Supreme Court.
Right, this takes years.
It takes years. At some point, it's going to come out that there's a whole bunch of problems, that all these laws are simply poorly worded, ill-advised. They're effective for their purpose, but overbroad and overly effective by bringing in a lot of people who nobody really wants to make criminal.
Yeah, I would imagine anyone who's a member of the Paparazzi out in Hollywood is looking at their liability and how it's changing over time with these laws coming out.
I got news for you. Take a look at how every mother finds out that her son or daughter stands as a very good likelihood of becoming a criminal before they graduate high school.
Right.
The way these kids are sending images of each other back and forth, you know, your kid gets a picture from a boyfriend and girlfriend on their cell phone and turns to their best friend and goes, oh, look, that is a violation of the law. Or they forward it to somebody. You know, we talk, the people who are trying to criminalize it talk about a violation of their trusting and loving relationship. It's not how it always happens.
Right. That's exactly where I want to go next. I mean, looking at this debate, there's this disconnect between advocacy, legislators, and in media in terms of understanding how technology is supposed to work and how it's actually used, particularly among the young. This is a tricky thing. How should debates like this go? I mean,
very slowly and very carefully.
Yeah.
And I completely understand that the people who want to stop the horrific revenge porn, the stuff that they're really focused on, say people are being deeply hurt by that right now and we cannot wait. I do appreciate that. I similarly appreciate the fact that people will be hurt by the passage of these laws in the process. The problem that we have is our legal culture is Blackstone's ratio. We don't sweep in innocent people just to make sure we get the guilty people. The objective is that laws be narrowly tailored so that we get what we want to get, but no more than we want to get. And these laws that are being passed are basically knee-jerk laws, poorly tailored. They're prepared by people who have no experience, no practice, no knowledge of what they're talking about. And they're basically, the arguments they're offering are all emotional appeals with a couple straw men thrown in.
Right.
But they're not sound arguments. And they don't recognize the potential for damage that they're going to cause to a whole lot of people that don't deserve to be damaged.
There's talk about addressing this issue at the federal level through a statute. Would that debate, assuming that debate would take place before a bill gets passed into law, do a better job, in your view, of weighing the pros and cons of this type of legislation?
Oh, that debate brings a huge problem to the table, because the point is, if it's a federal criminal law, Section 230 safe harbor for people that host on the internet are suddenly in a position of criminal jeopardy for hosting what other people upload.
So there's a problem for the tech industry.
This could be the end of the internet, in the sense of, why do I want to host anything from you that might possibly put me in prison? I have nothing to say about it, don't know where it comes from, don't know if it's consensual, non-consensual. I don't even know if it's real, but I surely don't want to go to prison so you have the right to post something.
Scott, this is big stuff. Thanks so much for coming in and talking to us.
Thank you.
That's Scott Greenfield, founder of Simple Justice, and of course he's a criminal defense attorney. If you'd like to see more of the stuff we're working on, be sure to go check us out on Twitter, and you can always follow us on YouTube. I'm Lee Pacchia. Thanks for watching.